Okay, we're recording. Let me go back to sharing. All right, so this is a first draft, second draft maybe, of the presentation for Ashish to do on Security 101 for cloud native applications. And he has only a 20-minute presentation. Some of these slides need to be redone, and we might want to get Jarek or Luke to do it. And I don't know if they want to do it as a build. I put them in here as individual slides for the notes transition, but you can decide what you want to do with those. All right, so let me just go through the flow real quick, and then I'll come back and go a little bit deeper, but I want you to understand the flow.
Why don't you just present it as you would, Cindy?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so why are we here? Everybody thinks that cloud is already secure, but there have been, recent attacks and even vulnerabilities disclosed that that show that cloud, while there are parts of cloud that AWS and Azure and Google take care of, there's a whole nother set of elements that are not included in that you need to take care of yourself. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. I don't know if you want to mention these or just let people read the slide. So what we're going to cover is the landscape. I apologize for the horn in the background. I don't know if y'all can hear that. The landscape, the new attack surfaces that you need to think about, and some ways that you can cover it from the standpoint of your process and your tools, as opposed to within Kubernetes and containers. So the key trends that we're addressing that kind of spark this conversation are with cloud native comes the use of containers and Kubernetes. Those have their own attack surfaces. The applications become very portable, so with Kubernetes, you can run it on any cloud. What that means is that traditional network security really no longer, I won't say no longer applies, but its role is greatly diminished because as attackers go after data and the applications that provide logic around that data, it's I'm sorry, that horn is really driving me.
It's not bothering us.
Okay, it's bothering me. As those elements have a role, then you need to think about how to protect those and the entry points that they provide. And what that means is zero trust becomes more important, because zero trust assumes that there is no corporate network that you can wall off. People will get in, and so you need to protect the data and the applications that use it in a little bit different manner. The iterative nature of DevOps creates a challenge for security as well, and DevOps tends to go hand in hand with cloud native. And so as applications are deployed, every day, every hour, or what have you, that waterfall method of security really, it becomes kind of just, there's a word I'm looking for, you can come up with it, but it's like not congruent. What's that?
Untenable.
Okay. I wouldn't have known that word, but yeah, that works. And then, shifting left, everybody wants to shift left. They know that it's less expensive to find vulnerabilities in development and fix them there, but the tools to empower that really haven't caught up. And so there's an untenable environment there as well. So this series this is like a build. It could be done as a automation, but I want to walk you through the logic here. So security is, some people think it's in the realm of AWS and Azure and Google to do. They tend to do the pieces here that are in gray. And then the pieces that are in orange get layered on with, application security testing and other tools. And historically, in the last couple of years, this piece in white has really been something that the customer had to deal with. Now, this is evolving. So, you can look at how tools like GitLab are helping secure the access to the code and make sure that it's authenticated, and people that are in the code need to be in the code, and the code changes are tracked and auditable and all of that. And so all of these pieces in white are beginning to be automated. And so you could argue that that's going to be covered by the orange piece as well. So what's left? Well, what's left is when you abstract that application layer at the top and you add containers and orchestration, it's the attack surfaces that you have with containers and orchestration that now become the responsibility of the customer to protect. Now, when you take the fact that with Kubernetes, that application is abstracted from the hardware, can run anywhere. I can run it on AWS one day and I can run it on Azure the next. That portability is what really necessitates a more zero trust approach to things. And so zero trust is going to assume that, like I said, there's no real network anymore. The bad guys are going to get in. How do you protect your data? And you do that with identity and access management. You do that with, mine's drawing a blank here, identity and access management, with encryption, with application security testing, and various techniques like that. Now, Kubernetes, we saw with the Tesla attack, Kubernetes was the entry point. In fact, maybe we should talk about that one a little bit more. So what happened is the attackers got into the Kubernetes console and they used the access that allowed them to get over to the S3 buckets that are storage on AWS, and that's where the sensitive data was stored. And so Kubernetes, was identified as a let me rephrase that. With the use of Kubernetes, security was identified as one of the top challenges. And this was Cloud Native Computing Foundation survey. So what are the elements? Well, let's take containers first. There's the image, there's registry, and there's the network security, or it's also called the east-west traffic. And that's the traffic between applications within a container. So for instance, you probably shouldn't have your HR system talking to your point of sale system. Not that they would necessarily be in the same container, but that's an example. And the orchestrators then take on another layer, which is the resources used by those applications. So you can configure, this app shouldn't run more than X period of time, or shouldn't consume more than, so much terabytes, gigabytes, whatever of data. And so all of those things are tools that you can use, but they're also vulnerable areas. You can set the network policies for how the application within the container should work externally as well. And so I have, just kind of breaking flow here for a second, I have some examples here in the back around Kubernetes very specifically in terms of here's the threat, here's what you need to do. They're marginally applicable to us, so I don't know that you want to go down that path, but I just bring it up because they're there. If it came up in Q&A, you could pop back to that slide. Now, in terms of what we do, I wouldn't necessarily present this because we're not pitching GitLab, but so our container scanning scans the image So we're doing a part of that. With Defend, we will do the east-west traffic. And registry, I'm still trying to figure out exactly how much we do around security of the registry, but that's between us.
Right now, nothing. They have a issue open to add scanning of images that are in the registry, but not yet.
Okay, thank you. This I borrowed shamelessly from a slide that I think John did, but I took off the last one because the measurement, it's important, but I wanted to keep it to kind of 3, and I felt like these were the top 3 things. So if you wanted to talk about the process side of this, in terms of how to approach security cloud native from a more of a methodology standpoint, the smaller, more iterative changes can actually be a benefit. So right now it's a problem, it's a barrier for traditional application security because those scans aren't set up to be done on an iterative basis. They're really set up to be done once you're in a test environment. But with GitLab, the fact that we, and you don't need to say with GitLab, I think you'd probably say, look for a single tool that can pull all of that security scanning into the developer's pipeline, then that enables that iteration to actually become a benefit because you're testing small little incremental changes as opposed to waiting to test, swallow the whole elephant at the end. And then the tooling, you want to look for a single application for your software development lifecycle so that you're not trying to stitch together a tool chain that includes security because it won't be seamless. And then automation is important. And if you automate security within the pipelines, these probably need to be reordered. If you automate security within the pipelines, then it's going to be applied consistently. And when you look at things like auto remediation, that will resolve the vulnerabilities, not just report them. So when you think about a single application across the entire software development lifecycle, you want a single source of truth, single conversation for all of the stages. And there's so many noises here. Security can be baked into the CI/CD process. I need to come back to that, Dan. Some of these, just FYI, I don't have defend on the end of these because I need to go back and capture defend for all of them.
I'm working on it as we speak.
Oh, awesome. Okay. And these 12, 13, and 14 are kind of optional. You could put them in here or you could leave them out, but you could just talk to it. But I'm kind of thinking it might be helpful to have it in here to talk about continuous security.
Yeah, I think 14 is kind of, I should use that. It's not product centric. It's the flow. It's, how do you incorporate security into the flow, what you just talked about.
Yeah, it's about, I started thinking it's kind of matching the iterative nature of DevOps with security. So making security iterative to be more congruent with DevOps.
Yep.
But so that's it in a nutshell. And obviously it's still a draft, but
this is good. I have a good idea of how to, I'm going to internalize this a little bit. I want to think about, I might change the flow just a bit here and there and
make it yours.
Yep.
In fact, I can give John editing too if you want. I don't know if you want additional contributions, but my thought is I'm putting this out there, but you're going to need to massage it and make it.
Yeah. No, this is good. You can stop the recording, I think.
Oh, I think I have to stop sharing to stop the recording.